7 days, that's all it took. And I want to be honest with you about something before I start. I'm 72 years old, I grew up in Osaka, and I had completely forgotten how to clean. Not forgotten as in I didn't know the motions. Forgotten as in I had spent 30 years ignoring everything my family taught me, living in a home that embarrassed me, convincing myself it was fine. It was not fine. And the week I'm about to describe to you, the week I finally went back to the Japanese way, day by day, habit by habit, that week changed things in my home and in me that I'm still feeling today. Here's what happened. Day 1, the 5-minute rule, I had dismissed my whole adult life. I started with osoji, the Japanese practice of focused daily cleaning. 5 minutes, that's it. Every morning, 5 concentrated minutes on one specific area before anything else. I chose the bathroom, set a timer, wiped the sink, cleaned the mirror, straightened everything on the shelf. When the 5 minutes ended, I stood there looking at it and felt something I hadn't expected, a kind of quiet pride. The bathroom looked genuinely better. Not perfect, but better. And the feeling that came with it, that small surge of I did something before the day even started, that was new. Here's what I want you to understand about those 5 minutes. The cleaning industry needs you to believe that cleaning is a big event, a Saturday project, something that requires their specialized products, their heavy-duty sprays, their multi-surface systems. Because if cleaning is a big event, you buy more, you hire more, you depend more. 5 minutes every morning threatens that entire model. 5 minutes means you never need the big event. 5 minutes means you never need them. I know this because my grandmother never bought a single specialized cleaning product. Her home was spotless. The industry has spent decades making sure you forget that people like her existed. Day 1 also brought the first sorting. I pulled everything out of one section of my wardrobe, not the whole thing, just one section, and went through it honestly. Each item, does this belong in my life right now? Not someday, now. I filled a bag. What remained I could actually see. That visibility, knowing what you have, is something the accumulation industry also works against. More stuff, more storage solutions to buy, more chaos to feel overwhelmed by, more products marketed as the answer. The Japanese answer is simply own less. It costs nothing. Day 2, the principle that ended my pile of dirty dishes. Forever. This was the day I learned the rule that sounds almost too simple to be real. You don't clean after cooking. You clean while cooking. While something is on the stove, you wash what you use to prepare it. While the kettle boils, you wipe the counter. By the time the meal is ready, the kitchen is already almost clean. By the time you finish eating, there are only a few things left. Those take 90 seconds. I had spent decades creating dishes piles. It felt inevitable. You cook, you eat, the mess exists, you'll deal with it later. Later became evening. Evening became morning. Morning became, I'll do it today after work. The pile grew. The kitchen felt heavy. I avoided it. This single shift, clean during, not after, eliminated that entirely. Not reduced it, eliminated it. There has not been a dish pile in my kitchen since day 2 of that week. That was months ago. The other thing that came on day 2 was motonai, the Japanese concept of zero waste, which goes much deeper than recycling. I looked at what I was throwing away before it was truly finished. Products with a quarter remaining. Food I'd forgotten was there. Things that still had life in them. I had been careless with what I owned in a way I hadn't consciously noticed. Motainai asks you to notice, to use fully before discarding. It is an antidote to the consumption loop, the one that says, buy more, throw away faster, buy again. I had fallen deep into that loop in my years abroad. Coming back to Motainai felt like an apology to my grandmother, honestly. Day 3. What was living under my furniture? I moved things, properly moved them. Every piece of furniture that could be shifted. What I found underneath was a record of years of avoidance. Dust so thick it had texture. objects I'd been looking for, evidence that I had been cleaning around things rather than cleaning things. My home had been performing cleanliness from the surface while accumulating underneath. This is what quick clean culture produces, the kind promoted by products designed to make surfaces look clean fast. Spray and wipe. Done. But the bacteria under the furniture, the allergens in the corners, the slow accumulation in the places you can't see, those don't respond to surface treatment. They respond only to actually moving things and cleaning what's there. The Japanese don't do deep cleans because they're obsessive. They do them because they're honest. Dirt doesn't stop existing because you can't see it. That evening, I also internalized Ichigo Ichi. This moment is unique and will not return. In cleaning terms, it means do it now, not later. Every time I set something down without putting it away, I was creating future work for myself. Every "I'll deal with that later" was a small tax I was billing to future Keiko. She was exhausted. I stopped billing her. Day 4, the morning I woke up and wanted to clean. I don't know how to explain this without sounding like I'm exaggerating, so I'll just say it plainly. On day 4, I woke up before the alarm, and my first thought was the 5 minutes. Not dread. Anticipation. The Japanese call this soji, cleaning as meditation. When the phone is away, when there's no distraction, when it's just you and the cloth and the surface, something quiets. It's not mystical, it's neurological. Repetitive, purposeful physical action lowers cortisol, the stress hormone. It occupies just enough of the brain to silence the noise. Those 5 minutes had become the best part of my morning without me deciding they would be. Day 4 was also when I addressed the wardrobe properly. Everything folded vertically, each item standing upright, like a file in a drawer, visible at a glance. I had been folding horizontally my entire adult life, stacking items in piles, which meant whatever I needed was always on the bottom, which meant the pile was always destroyed by morning. Vertical folding sounds like a small thing. It is not a small thing. I have not had a chaotic drawer since. I also applied Danshari that day, the practice of refusing, disposing, separating, not just physically, but mentally. Do I need 5 of this? Do I need any of this? The honest answer, repeated enough times, creates a home that breathes. I had been suffocating mine for years with things I was keeping out of vague anxiety rather than genuine need. This is the midpoint of the week, and I want to stop here for a moment because what I've just described, this process of remembering, returning, rebuilding, I wrote it all down, not as instructions, as a confession, really, about what I had forgotten and what it cost me and what came back when I finally stopped pretending the way I was living was acceptable. I called the book 7 Mornings because that's what this week was. 7 mornings that changed everything. And it goes further than this video can, into the why behind each practice, the memories from Osaka that came flooding back as I cleaned, and the specific things that finally made these habits permanent rather than temporary. Susan from Australia wrote to me after reading it and said she'd tried to declutter 3 times before and failed every time, and that something in the book made it finally click. Hiroshi from California, who also grew up in Japan and also forgot, said reading it was like remembering a language he thought he'd lost. Dorothy from England said she gave it to her sister, and they cleaned their houses on the same weekend from opposite sides of the country, calling each other after each room. It's in the pinned comment. It's part of this story. And if this week I'm describing is speaking to something in you, that's where it continues. Now, day 5. Day 5, the kitchen reorganization that made cooking feel different. This was the day everything in my kitchen moved. The principle, what you use every day at the front, at arm level, what you use weekly, mid-shelf, what you rarely use, high up or at the back. Simple, obvious, and the complete opposite of how my kitchen had been organized for years, which was wherever it fit. I reorganized every cabinet with this principle. pots nested inside each other by size, plates used daily in the most accessible position, spices in clear containers where I could read them without picking them up, the things I reached for constantly, no longer buried behind the things I never touched. That evening, I cooked dinner in the reorganized kitchen. The difference was immediate and almost physical. I didn't open a single wrong cabinet. Everything I needed was where my hand expected it. Cooking became fluid in a way it genuinely hadn't been before. Not because I'd improved my skills, but because the environment had stopped fighting me. An organized kitchen is not an aesthetic choice. It's an efficiency choice. Every minute spent searching for the right lid, every time you move 4 things to reach one thing, that friction accumulates. Over years, it becomes a low-level aversion to cooking, to the kitchen, to the whole process. Remove the friction, and you remove the aversion. The refrigerator got the same treatment. Everything out, assessed honestly, returned only if it belonged, organized by category, with the shortest shelf life items visible at the front. I stopped buying things I already had. I stopped forgetting things were there until they expired. The refrigerator became something I could actually read at a glance. Day 6. The hour I spent on something I'd never cleaned properly. The bathroom, not a wipe down, a real clean. Grout lines. The kind that had gone dark over years of being cleaned around rather than cleaned. Bicarbonate of soda and white vinegar. 2 things that cost almost nothing, and that the cleaning product industry has spent considerable energy making sure you don't think are enough. They are enough. They are more than enough. The grout came back, not partially, completely. I also cleaned things I had never thought to clean: light switches, door handles, window frames, the tops of door frames. These surfaces are touched constantly and cleaned almost never. They are invisible in the sense that we don't look at them, but bacteria doesn't care whether we're looking. The Japanese concept at work here is sanshin, sustained attention, including to the things that seem unimportant, especially to those things. The discipline of caring for what no one notices is precisely what prevents the slow, invisible accumulation that eventually becomes the overwhelming mess. I had an overwhelming mess for years because I only attended to what was obviously dirty. Everything else was quietly building. Day 7. What I actually couldn't believe. I woke up on day 7 and sat on the edge of my bed before doing anything else. The room was quiet. The surfaces were clear. Nothing was waiting to be dealt with, avoided, apologized for. The home felt, and I know how this sounds, like it was on my side, like it was working with me rather than against me. I did the final 5-minute round, made small adjustments, walked through each room slowly. And then I sat down and stayed quiet for a while because I needed to feel what I was feeling without rushing past it. I grew up in a home that felt like this. I had known this feeling as a child and forgotten it so completely that when it returned, I almost didn't recognize it. That was the part that moved me most. Not the clean surfaces, not the organized drawers, the feeling. The feeling of being in a space that is cared for and knowing that you are the one doing the caring, and understanding that caring for your space is a form of caring for yourself. I had stopped caring for myself somewhere in my 30s and hadn't fully noticed until my 60s. What actually changed? 3 things, and they're not what I expected. First, I sleep differently. A disordered environment keeps the brain in a low-level alert state, processing unfinished visual information, registering things out of place. When the environment is ordered, that signal stops. The nervous system settles, sleep deepens. Second, decisions are easier. This surprised me most. But a cleared, organized space reduces the number of micro-decisions your brain processes each day. Where did I put that? What do I need to move to reach this? Which of these 5 things is the right one? Decision fatigue is real, and its sources are often invisible. Your environment is one of the largest. Third, the habits maintained themselves. This is the thing I most want you to hear. I did not maintain them through discipline or willpower. After 7 days, they had restructured how I moved through my home. The 5 morning minutes, the cleaning while cooking, the immediate return of objects to their place. These became the natural way, not the effortful way. That's the Japanese principle underneath all of it. Habits built correctly don't need to be sustained by force. They sustain themselves. 7 days, 5 minutes a morning. Clean while you cook. Put things away immediately. Use fully before discarding. Attend to what others ignore. That's it. That's the whole system the industry doesn't want you to know, because it doesn't require them. 7 Mornings is in the pinned comment, the full account of this week and everything it opened up in me, and I'll see you in the next video.